Alrighty, so I'm going to attempt to break down a very simple piece of script here. Luto runs forward, kicks, scores. It's the kind of thing I might have seen in, a certain soccer show I've worked on in my life. Let's break down this piece of script. I'm going to do some very rough storyboarding here. Just doesn't have to be exact in terms of its aspect ratio, just anything that will do for our purposes. I'll maybe copy these across, and I'll start with 6. We'll see if we need more. I doubt we'll need much more than that. One thing I'm going to establish up front here is I'm going to make our protagonist blue, and I'm going to use black for the backgrounds. So just so that it'll be a little easier to pick them out from the background here. So let's say we've just got a couple of very simple actions happening here. Luto runs forward. I'm just going to start with like something very basic, like kind of that anime run in the back with like this sort of maybe very extreme sort of perspective of the hand really far up front. And I'm going to keep this extremely rough. This is only a breakdown point. All I really want to do here is just break down these shots and explode the shot ideas. So usually that kind of means doing first a comprehension phase of actually reading the script, which is something I always fall over. Actually reading and comprehending the script and writing down what you see. What do you see when you are reading the script? Maybe making notes while you're making the script, like doing little teeny tiny little notes like this is perfectly acceptable. Like while you're reading the script, and kind of doing we can do something like that here. So like one of Luto running forward, one of like the kick happening, and one of the scores. So at some point the ball will go in there. We know those three shots will certainly be there, and we definitely also kind of a little verbal trap here. We need to know that it's Luto, so we definitely need a good visual on him, which is what we've got over here. So we've got the visual on Luto. Let's give him like a distinctive haircut or something. Like let's say you've got like a bit of a top knot with dreads or something going on there. So that's just an indicator. I'm not getting into detail just yet. I'm just having an indicator so we know who's who. And I've got this exquisite perspective and anatomy kind of going on here. So just enough to remind me later that I'm like, oh yes, I wanted kind of like that extreme anime perspective thing kind of going on there with the hand. Then we'll sort of have the kick happen there. Again, flawless anatomy skills happening. But that's not the point. Anatomy is certainly not the point of what we're trying to accomplish here. So I know this would have driven them crazy at the job where I worked on things where it's like you don't hit the ball with like the bottom of your foot like that. You have to hit the ball with like the top of your foot here. So that's what I'm gonna do. Hits the ball at a certain kind of angle. There's a line there. I never understood what the lines actually meant on the pitch. You could also make the line white actually. That was a little trick I do remember from there where the line markings on the pitch were white. Maybe give a teeny bit of okay, so maybe give a teeny bit of the grid kind of going on there, but that actually just gives a little bit too much detail for what I want right now. So kicks the ball and scores. So we could do that a number of different ways. Maybe we do a side-on thing where the ball kind of like just spins into the back of the net like this. I know this was always kind of a popular shot. Maybe let's do some more examples of what that could be. Maybe it's kind of like following the ball there, and the guy barely. The goalie's hand just misses it, and it goes for the back of the net, like that. Or maybe one of those things where the goalie is just too far. The ball's just a little too far for the goalie's hands to happen there. So the goalie's like trying to go for the ball there, but the ball's just too far away for him to reach. There's some nice options. If I wanted to, I could maybe explode a little bit more on the. I think this is nice, but this is very focused on the game right here. So what happens after a score? Generally, you want a crowd shot. You want to sort of see what the crowd is doing there. The crowd's going insane. This would maybe just be a stock shot of if it was animation, it would be a stock shot of the crowd just going crazy. But you could add someone kind of in the foreground there. I would maybe go in with like a shady brush or something, just add like little dots around there just to fill out the feeling of a crowd a little bit more. And maybe here we want to actually we want to just like color code our guy just to be able to follow where he is at various points, although he's in 2 shots, but you get the picture. Maybe I also want to follow the ball, so maybe I'll make the ball a different color as well, so I can follow where the ball is at all times. Also really important there. Okay, cool. So we have a nice layout here of how this very simple line can be broken down. If this was a longer beat, if this was a longer piece of script, maybe I would use several pages of this. And the idea here really is again, not to like plan out the shot so much as it is to explode ideas for what could happen here. So are there any other types of shots that could happen in these moments? It is pretty simple and this covers most of it, I think, but perhaps we could do something along the lines of like we could show. I could add another shot in here, perhaps of like showing this guy being chased by some other dudes. Some very. I'll just like going a little further in here. Show you my extremely tiny little hieroglyphs. As a friend used to call them. Maybe show him being chased by some guys there. There's the ball right in front of him, and Luto's in blue there. Use this blue to be able to see him better. So maybe he's being chased by a couple of guys in that particular shot over there, or maybe there's a real gear up for the big shot over here. So I'll add another shot here quickly where like maybe we actually want to see Luto's maybe we want to see Luto's face when he scores or something. So have the shot kind of happen like this. Maybe the other guys are watching who are chasing him over there. That could be another version of that shot that we could do. I'll do that. Put that in there. The blue tone blue. Just following color coding really helps to follow details, especially when they get very tiny, and especially if you have multiple figures, as you might have in a soccer game. Definitely. So that's a way that we can explode ideas. That's a way that we can break down a piece of script. I will go into how to actually put this into layer comps and how to iterate on the possible animation that we can do in this if you're doing animation boards. This will be fine for film boards, barring a little bit of cleanup perhaps, and I'll do a video on cleanup as well, how to clean up boards so that it works as well. But doing a little bit of base, like keeping your thumbnails readable, at least for you. Like maybe these are thumbnails I would show a director. These little thumbnails up here, I wouldn't show a director. Those are just for me to be able to read and see what's happening there. I wouldn't expect someone else to be able to read them. But thumbnails like these might be what I actually present to a director and say, is this working, is this not? If a director looks at this and says, cool, that's great, just add the necessary animation in there, add what I call the ABCs. But this is an ideas phase. This is what you would show a director, just off the bat show them how you would take care of this, and you can see how much footage we actually get out of a single line of dialogue. So I hope that was helpful. Thanks and take care.